What's up, family? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Smash up the like, smash up the like, smash up the likes. Hit that notification bell when we go live. We are live, and I'm coming at you with 5, ladies and gentlemen, on this Thursday afternoon. I am back. Yes, I've taken a hiatus for a while. I've been under the weather. Wanted to come in, talk a little bit with you all about some of the latest news, especially in the world of entertainment that's going on. As most of you may know already, of course, part of the reason why I haven't been on live, I've been busy on the campaign trail and work, dealing with that. We've been hitting the streets, doing a lot of things to try and win this race for District E out here in the Northeast. So that's something I've been doing. I know we got more people. Now, I just noticed because, I come on X and I've noticed that now you have to have a premium account. I'm just looking for the first time now. I get most of my viewers actually through X. A lot of people may or may not know that. That's where a lot of my viewers and subscribers have actually been coming through. And it looks like in order to do that, you got to now buy a premium plan in order to get verified and so forth in order to do that. I'm just looking here. Wow. So this is where I get the bulk of my audience. So what I'm going to do next time, I'm going to look at that. Certainly we'll get that for next time so everybody can tune in. I hate that that's happened here. I didn't know that because I could just come on X. Usually that's what I was doing, but now that's stopped. But let's talk about stuff that's going on. Shout out to my brother Dennis Byron. I was listening to him. Anybody that's tuning in, he's been covering the Diddy stuff, the Diddy trial, and so forth. And I just learned, of course, that Judge Soberanian, he denied Diddy's bail again. This is in spite of the fact that Diddy's defense team made the argument that out of all the people who have been convicted under the Mann Act, they're not spending 20 years or facing 20 years in prison. Some of them have been were released on bail before their convictions. They had their stuff settled, and he feels he's being unjustly treated by the courts, by the prosecutors. And also, they mentioned how it was racially motivated in terms of how that law was passed, of course, in their arguments. But the judge wasn't buying it, and he denied Diddy bail again. So Diddy is still going to have to sit until his next court date in October. So y'all think about that for a minute. That does sound excessive. It sounds like the judge got it out for him. But you know who he was appointed by? Judge Soberani was appointed by Joe Biden, as was the prosecution that was doing this case. Of course, that attorney, he had to step down once Trump took over. And Trump said he's not likely going to pardon him. He's not going to pardon Diddy. Although Diddy's lawyers have been talking to him, it looks like they had a falling out, especially when Trump got into politics, although they were close at one time, according to the reports. So that's something else. But why I brought up Brother Dennis, it was brought to my attention from listening to his channel that Al B. Sure, because Al B. Sure actually had been going in on Diddy. As you know, Al B. Sure and Kim Porter were actually lovers. They had a child together. And, Diddy was actually dating Kim Porter. And he had actually came out against Diddy, making allegations, especially how he didn't trust her death. He didn't believe her death was natural. He had been going in on Diddy when the trial started. And so it's been reported, and Dennis brought this up, that Al B. Sure, when he was doing this, making those remarks, he had a book deal with Simon Schuster that he was coming up with. He was making these rounds, and this book that he was doing was actually set to be released. Well, this is an article from Page 6, but Dennis Byron was the one that broke the news to me, broke the news on his platform. And it looks like that book has been shelved. So, according to Page 6 here, you can read Simon Schuster's put Al B. Sure's book on ice amid creative differences over Diddy. There's a battle over Diddy between Al B. Sure and Simon and Schuster. Yeah, he made a claim that Diddy had something to do with him falling into a coma 3 years ago. My whole thing, even with that, and look, I don't care to know these people's lives, but Al B. Sure wasn't relevant in 2022. I'm not trying to stop the man, but let's be real. Who was listening to Al B. Sure in 2022? What new stuff Al B. had popping? Y'all think Diddy was trying to take him out because he had been messing with Kim Porter, although he and Diddy and Kim Porter had already broken up. They had children together. Al B. Sure has a son with her. Y'all think he waited? Al B. was messing with Kim Porter before Diddy. He's trying to derail Diddy's career. He was trying to derail Al B.'s career after it had already been on a halt for like several years. I mean, come on, man. I like Al B. Sure. I still think Night and Day and Off on Your Own are cool songs. I still listen to them. But come on, man. You're blaming somebody you accuse somebody, and I don't know the facts. Yeah, Diddy is a guy, I think he's a dirtbag. I've always said that. based off, of course, what we saw from that video. But it seems like a lot of the stuff they're trying to do, they're stretching a lot of shit out of him. I'm pretty sure in the book they'll be saying that Diddy had something to do with the BP oil spill 15 years ago. They would do anything. They blaming him for everything. So what they're saying is Simon and Schuster wanted him to include more stuff about Diddy, but now the book has been shelved, according to Shore's attorney Robert Hatman. He said he told Page Six there's been creative differences between the publisher and Albie Shore. The book was supposed to be available for pre-order, but they posted a new release date of December 31st, 2050. The audio edition for the book has also been removed. Yeah. So he thinks Diddy had something to do with his him being in a coma in 2022, and cast doubt on pneumonia being the cause of Kim Porter's death. Yeah, well, yeah, he and Kim Porter were married at one point, and yeah, Albie Shore's son, yeah, he actually is an actor too. He plays Crown on the Power Kanan series. Well, his character's been dead since season one, but yeah, he I remember him. He's looks a spitting image of his father. But I'm just these people that are just blaming Diddy for anything. Like it seemed like this bandwagon stuff that's been going on. Look, and I don't know these people from Adam, but it just seems that way. Especially Albie is coming out saying this stuff now, and he had a book that was coming out. It just seems that way. But let's say y'all. I'll be sure. Yeah, I respect to Al be sure, but it just seems off that he's coming out with this, with the book being shelved. Obviously, and I know about books and books publishing, especially when you make allegations on people. Uh, if you make certain allegations on someone and you publish them, there's another issue there. His lawyers probably would have to look at because they could also subject themselves to lawsuits for slander and libel. Who knows? I'm sure Diddy has lawyers. Diddy's got, I guess, enough deep pockets right now. Still, his lawyers could look at the book and probably could have said, "No, you can't print this," or we're not threatening to sue, and that might be in Albie Shore's ear. Who knows? Who knows? But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to my family on YouTube who are watching. Shout out to the family on Rumble. I will post this video for them. We're going to get into this. So, as you can see on the screen, I put, and in the thumbnail, what I put up and what we're talking about tonight, ladies and gentlemen, BET, as you know, most of you may not know this, but BET actually was just recently bought and sold for by Skydance. Well, Skydance, let me rephrase that. It's not just BET, it's Viacom, Paramount, and Total. So, as you know, BET back in the early 2000s was acquired by Paramount, or Viacom, I should say, about 2001, 2002. And ever since then, it had been run by obviously was founded by Bob Johnson and his wife Linda. They no longer own it anymore, and it goes to a white company, namely Viacom, which was owned by the Rhinestone family. And now, recently, Paramount was purchased by Skydance Media. So now Paramount has become Paramount Skydance Corporation, and these are the people who own Paramount Global, National Amusements, and Sky. It's a merger of Skydance Media, Paramount Global, and what has happened. This just recently happened this week, so it was completed today on August 7th. Now, with this merger, that's Paramount's Skydance's headquarters in New York, ladies and gentlemen, right in Times Square. Now, y'all notice all of these companies, something else happened this year too. Not that it's tied to our topic per se, but Hulu and Disney, uh, although Disney already bought Hulu, but the Hulu app is going to be canceled, and all the programming that's on Hulu will just now be under Disney Plus. You also notice that WWE, I don't know if you know this, but they're going to be streaming on ESPN, which basically is also owned by Disney. So all of these damn corporations, you think about this, are, and this is one of the big problems with that Telecommunications Act of 1996, it's eliminating competition because now all of these different companies, all of these different corporations come under one, they merge, they come under one other group, and there's nobody left really to compete with them. And plus, now that WWE was streaming on Peacock, Peacock was NBC, is going to ESPN, which would mean the pay per views that they have, the prices for those are going to go up. I just read. See, that's another thing. A lot of people left cable to go to streaming, but now streaming is becoming even more expensive than cable. A lot of these people are struggling to afford cable television, to afford streaming services. Every time they keep going up, the prices are going. You notice there's going to be an increase with Paramount Plus that's coming up. There's going to be an increase with ESPN Plus coming up, and Disney. It's all going to go up next year. It's going to go up to $2 or $3. They removed sharing the passwords on a lot of these platforms as well. Netflix started doing that. Pretty soon you're not going to be, and it's going to tank the streaming services, I think, because a lot of people, especially with the economy today, they can't afford it. So what happened? So to get to the to get to what I was what I was talking about, this so yeah, Viacom acquired UPN and CBS. Yeah, you remember in like the early 2000s, and that's what happened. And BET, of course, is owned by Paramount. It's been owned by Paramount since 2000, when for $2.3 billion, Bob Johnson sold the network, and he did so as a way he wanted to get into the airline industry. That's why he did that. But it didn't work out for him, and such. BET has been on a decline ever since. BET, let's be honest, they have not had great programming in years. Maybe with there's been a couple of hit and misses that they've had. I remember when they did the American Soul series a few years ago, which was about Soul Train, and we're going to be talking about them. And of course, that ended up that didn't last that long, maybe 2 seasons. They used to have BT used to have quality programming. Of course, Tavis Smiley had a show on there, BET Tonight. They had a news channel. They had uh, as well as Sunday Best. That was the competition show that they did that Kirk Franklin had. Before that, they used to have Teen Summit. 106 in Park was probably their best one. Video Soul, but all of that changed, and they started to get into a lot of tap dance and stuff. That the programming just went downhill. And so share this is so this so now BET, if you remember, actually a couple of years ago, or I think it was last year, BET was up for sale, and they pulled it. They were trying to sell BET. I think Tyler Perry, and there was talks of Tyler Perry trying to buy it because Tyler Perry has a lot of programming on BET. All of his programming is now exclusively with BET. Uh, his television shows like House of Pain and Sisters, The Oval, a bunch of stuff he's done, and he didn't end up buying it. Byron Allen didn't buy it, but this was the face of the woman who owned BET, ladies and gentlemen. That is Sherry Redstone, and her father was a gentleman by the name of Summer Redstone. He was a businessman. He was into the movie industry. He owned uh, a host of movie theaters. His father had a chain of movie theaters. That's how it started. He was the CEO of National Amusements in 1967 and eventually became a billionaire. He got Viacom, and he was the majority shareholder of Viacom CBS, which was the parent company of Paramount Pictures. These are the group of people who own Black Entertainment Television. And not to mention also, they acquired VH1 and MTV. So all of these award shows, and I've talked about them before, we'll get into that. Well, let me save that. So this was his net worth at the time of his passing. He was worth $2.6 billion. This is according to Forbes magazine. So a multi-billionaire. This is his daughter, Summer. And she ran the CBS Corporation. She was the former vice chair and executive chairwoman of Paramount Global. Okay? But now, Paramount Global is now Paramount Skydance. And Skydance Media, they're the group of people. It's owned by a guy named David Ellison. This is David Ellison here. David Ellison is the son of Larry Ellison. That's Larry Ellison, who owns the Oracle Corporation. It's a software company. He's a multi-billionaire. He's the second wealthiest person in the world. Now, I'm not going to get in on the Ellison family. I don't know too much about them, but I know about Skydance Media. Skydance, they do a lot of the featured films that Tom Cruise has been in, like Jack Reacher and Mission Impossible. They also did World War Z, a couple of the Star Trek movies. They did Star Trek Into Darkness. They produced that. So yeah, they've been in a deal with Paramount for a long time. You can see all of their films here. They did Air, Luck, Top Gun Maverick, Snake Eyes, The Tomorrow Without Remorse. So this is stuff on Amazon. The Old Guard. They have some upcoming stuff coming up with Apple Studios and Mattel. Now, something I noticed as I'm looking at this, to get what we were talking about, this is the president of Paramount Skydance, Jeff Sell. He was also the CEO for NBC Universal. Now, at one time, so look at that. NBC Universal was a subsidiary of Comcast. All of these companies being bought and engulfed by other companies, man. And think about this. Viacom or Paramount also not in addition to BET, MTV, VH1, they have the movie company, of course, but they also have, I think, Comedy Central's under that. You also have the Showtime movie channel networks. That's all under that too. So to get to the award shows now, like I said, the programming has gone downhill from the beginning. So this doesn't surprise me, but they announced that the BET Awards was going to be canceled. The BET, not the awards. Let me apologize. The BET Hip Hop Awards and the Soul Train Music Awards have been postponed. And the reason it got postponed, they didn't state why. But I believe that this merger had something to do with it. And you know, the MTV Music Awards are about to come back, uh, are about to come back on, and I think they're trying to push MTV again. Although I stopped watching MTV a while back. Can y'all hold on for a minute? Hold on for me. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. I'm back. So, so yes, MTV, they've acquired that. They have their award show coming up. As I described, and as y'all know, these music shows, especially in the last couple of years, have been on the decline. But they announced that the award show, the BET Award, was going to was being suspended. The Hip Hop Awards and the Soul Train Awards. And so the Soul Train Awards, of course, we know Don Cornelius started Soul Train. That started back in the 1980s. 1987 was the first, I think, Soul Train Awards. And that was designed, obviously, I think that was a dream that Don Cornelius had. Of course, creating Soul Train, that was a time, as Spike Lee put it, a time capsule on African American music and culture. And here he was celebrating, which is why they had the Soul Train Awards, celebrating the best in music, the best in culture. And those programs were great. I enjoyed all of that. That was a must see television at the time, especially as a kid in the 90s. I remember when Michael Jackson got honored. But now, of course, what they have done, and it was announced uh, by the CEO of Paramount that they were actually going to be postponing or suspending the Hip Hop Awards, which I didn't really watch too much. That was started by BET in 2006, and the Soul Train Awards also. And there are people who are upset about it, but here's the thing: when you don't own something, you can't really complain about it or do something about it. When you don't own anything, you do. When you don't own something, there's nothing you can do really. Power does what it wants, is what the lesson we should learn from the suspension of the BET Awards and Hip Hop Award, and BET Hip Hop Awards, and the Soul Train Award. And you know what's interesting about that too was Fat Joe was even complaining about them canceling the MTV Awards, the BET Hip Hop Awards. He was actually supposed to host it. If y'all recall, he was supposed to host the BET Hip Hop Awards, and a lot of people checked him on that because Fat Joe was one of those people that was disrespecting the foundational Black Americans, especially about who created hip hop, trying to say Puerto Ricans created it. And I think recently Fat Joe had to had to backtrack on those things he said, because you had last year Tariq Nasheed had the Mike Check documentary, which was a great documentary. I can't deny that. I actually went to go see it, and I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed watching it. Uh, it was a must see documentary. But brother Dwan B has this posted, and I want to show y'all this. I thought I had bookmarked it. This is actually the viewership he has. So he has some data that shows how the viewership declined in recent years. I believe you got to realize too, when they're looking at the demos, they're looking at younger people. So they're looking at people in the age group, let's say between 18 and 49. And these are the hip hop award ratings back from 2010 to 2024. And you see in 2012, there's about, I believe this is 3.3 million that were watching it. Now, when you look at it over the years, let's say this is in 2012, 2015, you got 1 million. This is for the demographic between 18 and 49. This is of course, the overall demographic or overall rate of viewership, I should say, barely under 2 million. Then you have the total viewership at 1 million, but the demographic between 18 and 49 at 500,000. And then it declined each year from 2022 to 2023 to 2024. And he commented, he said, BT Hip Hop Awards viewership dropped from 3 million live views under FBA host Mike Epps to just 330,000 under Fat Joe. He became the first host in the show's history to fail to cross 1 million live viewers, and he did it in 3 years in a row with declining numbers each time. Our voices online reverberated. Black American cultural disrespect will not be tolerated. Absolutely. So it will not be tolerated. And that is something that has happened. But of course, the Soul Train Awards, when I look at Soul Train and what Don Cornelius uh, accomplished, and we just look at this, some numbers on this, for instance. So I told you all Soul Train was, of course, we know was created, I believe, in 1970 by Don Cornelius, is when he created it. Uh, 1970 or 1968, 69, somewhere around that. And eventually, Soul Train took off in the 70s. And from the 70s up until the mid 2000s when it stopped, I still watched Soul Train as a kid. They actually came on WGN. Uh, right. WGN in America. I remember them coming even on WB, I think Fox Local or WB in New Orleans at one point, and we loved watching Soul Train as a kid. I loved watching the Christmas specials they had. Uh, I remember some of the performances they had. I distinctly remember Michael Jackson being honored in, I think he was performing in 1993. And if I'm not mistaken, they had given him a humanitarian award. Uh, he and Eddie Murphy. I remember Eddie Murphy, and I think was it Elizabeth Taylor? Yeah, Elizabeth Taylor on the Soul Train Awards. I think that was something. I still remember that. So this is the Soul Train Music Awards. Yeah. So Soul Train, let me just look up some numbers. So remember though, and we're talking about selling stuff. Don Cornelia sells Soul Train. The ratings dropped. The last host, I believe, of Soul Train was Dorian Gregory. Him. The fourth and final host. Yeah, he replaced Shamor Moore. And I remember Nick Cannon, I think, was trying to buy it. Uh, but that never happened. And now the extensive library, the annual cruise event and award shows are under white control. 1,117 episodes. That's how many Soul Train had. Don Cornelius hosted from 1970 to 1993. He had, I believe, Don Cornelius was battling brain issues. He had, certainly, I know he had an aneurysm at one point, and I believe that was might have his health was a factor in why he quit hosting the show. But yeah, he really created something. The Soul Train line, the guest stars they had on that. Oh my gosh, yeah, it was something else. But yeah, I love the award shows. I love the specials they did. Award shows, like I say again, are not what they were. And I actually, to get back to something I was going to say earlier, they're not what they used to be. MTV, of course, they have their music awards coming up. Now, I think all of this is not a coincidence why they've suspended the Soul Train and BT Hip Hop Awards. And MTV Music Awards are coming up. It's usually every August anyway. And I was listening to somebody who was talking. She and I were who was talking about how they remember. So it's coming up in September now, and it's going to be broadcast on CBS for the first time. So they're trying to bring. So this would make sense now because MTV going on CBS, broadcast on CBS, is something I've never heard of or seen before. In the 40 years that they have the MTV Awards, the first host of the MTV Awards was none other than Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was the first host. And 1984, 1985, Eddie Murphy was just the man. back then. So they're broadcasting it on CBS, which is a mainstream network. That's cable, just like they do with the Grammys. I believe at one time BET, when BET had their awards, BET actually would like the. I'm talking about the BET actual BET awards. They would broadcast it on Comedy Central and VH1 in recent times. They do that, but here they're putting the MTV Music Awards on CBS, which is something they've never done before. I've never seen that. Now, I was listening to a an anchor on Fox News talking about award shows and how award shows used to be something special. You would see people, the different celebrities come out wearing different clothes, dresses that were, the fashion was just tight. And she essentially, what she was saying, she just remembers it was an event. Nowadays, doesn't feel that way. And I agree with her. And I would add part of the reason why that is because a lot of the most of the reason why that reasons it tends to be that way. We are also in the age of the internet where you can now check out if you miss something and don't watch the show when it first comes on live. I could just watch it on YouTube. Somebody's going to put it up. So its luster is no longer there anymore. The desire to watch it per se is not there anymore. They're not events. You could have to, especially in my day in the 90s, you had to actually watch these shows when they came on because if you missed it, you missed it. Yeah, you could record it on VHS, but a lot of people, the problem with recording it, you had those commercials you had to skip by. There was nothing like live television when you saw an event and you wanted to watch something live and saw it and then call your friends and tell them, man, did you just see what I see? Did you see that? That was it. What's up, Cheryl the Pearl? What's going on, baby? How you doing? So we are talking about BET suspending the Soul Train Music Awards as well as the BET Hip Hop Awards being suspended. Again, I don't think that was a surprise necessarily. I think that had a lot to do with money. I think they're trying to push MTV even further because MTV will be on CBS. The Music Awards is going to be on CBS. It's the 40th anniversary of the MTV Music Awards, so it's not a surprise. But I really wish Don Cornelius to get back on Soul Train. And I know what he was doing. He was making a money decision. Uh, he sold it back in 2008. So you see the pattern with all of this stuff. BT is no longer owned by blacks. Soul Train's not owned by blacks. Motown's not owned by blacks. Def Jam, I'll throw all major record companies, things that we had, none of them are owned by African Americans. Y'all see the pattern here? That's not by accident, guys. We don't have anything. Think about it. There's no way Don Cornelius can't didn't pass that down to his children. Barry Gordy doesn't pass Motown down to his kids. Now hold on a second. Okay, we just went live on X because I just upgraded my account. So I think everybody should be able to see me right now on X. Come on, fam. Come on in. All right. Okay. So yeah, Don Cornelius sells Soul Train. Y'all can read everything. So no one has there's no generational legacy that's passed down. And yes, they made money when they sell these companies. Of course, it's his company; he can do what he wants. But what happens, sadly, when you sell these your legacy away and don't pass that down, it causes we have nothing to cling to. It's the same thing with Essence. Look what happened with Essence magazine, how that gets sold. Even Ebony, they've turned it all into uh it's turned into, what Ebony had that cover of Bill Cosby and the family shattered. It turned into a linchpin for radical left wing feminists. A lot of the stuff they were promoting and pushing was not the stuff from Ebony Ebony and Essence that we grew up with as kids. Certainly not the same. Certainly, it's a shame. It's definitely not the same. And I mean, I grew up, you know, Soul Train was big back in, even in the 90s. It was still popular. The specials that they did, Don Cornelius left something. And, you know, again, like what Barry Gordy did with Motown, they created a great thing. But look, Black Americans don't own that. Motown's now owned by Universal. So there's no control over these companies and stuff passed down to generational legacies, like you saw with the family. I showed you Shari Redstone, the family that owned Paramount. Now she's sold, yeah. Now she's out of Paramount, but that family is still set for life. They have billions of dollars she can pass down to her children when she's passed. And I'm sure while Don Cornelius and Barry Gordy, they've made money. They've made money. Shout out to my family on X. Make some noise, ladies and gentlemen. We verified right now. We're live in this thing on X. We live on Rumble, ScrewTube. We are just talking about the BET Awards, the BET Music Awards, and the BET Hip Hop and the Soul Train Music Awards that have been shelved uh, by the new company Paramount Skydance. And Sky, like I say, Skydance, and I've noticed them in recent times. They promote and produce a lot of movies that Tom Cruise has been in, like Mission Impossible, The Ghost Mission Impossible movies, Top Gun. I've seen him do stuff like that. Jack Reacher. So I've heard of the name before, and they're going to make a lot of money. They made a lot of money from this and owning Paramount, and we're missing out because we don't have anything like this, especially in Black American culture. Not anymore. So, with Soul Train, the Soul Train Music Awards being shelved, as well as the Hip Hop Awards, and I wasn't a fan of those. I think it was probably just the decline in viewership. You know, you're putting out money promoting to events, and you're not getting the views that you want. The demographic, your target demographic, especially, is turning away. They're not really into it, like talking about it. All of that plays a factor in it. And it's about money. Everything is about money. Let's go to Chicago 32 just to play this article so everybody can hear what we're talking about. I'll play the audio of it.
Loves music. My biggest stage that I was on was Wembley Stadium in London. This was my first gig, 1998. The adjunct professor of instruction at Columbia College Chicago says he was disappointed when he learned of BET's changing its tune, at least for now, two of its signature music award shows. Reflections of our past and visions of an even brighter future. The Soul Train Awards and BET Hip Hop Awards have been pulled from the broadcast lineup. Those are two very essential parts of Black American music, not Black American music. It's just disappointing that we'll have a little bit less of a mainstream vehicle for us, award show that honors our artists. The Soul Train Music Awards debuted in 1987. By 2006, the BET Hip Hop Awards took rap to the main stage. Both shows have celebrated the sound and soul of Black music, from R&B icons like Whitney Houston to rap legends like Jay-Z. BET President Scott Mills says the shows are suspended, not canceled. The network is exploring new homes for them. Scott Mills says the show. So this guy here, hold up, I want to show you. This is who they appointed to represent BET, Scott Mills. That's the CEO of BET, but he's an employee. He's an employee of Paramount Skydance. He's not running anything. He has to answer to David Ellison and Jeff Shell, the president, the CEO, and president, respectively. The two gentlemen are the heads of Paramount Skydance. That's who he answers to. You're not running anything. Are suspended, not canceled. The network is exploring new homes for them, possibly on digital or streaming platforms. This move comes weeks after the 2025 BET Awards saw viewership drop nearly 50% among 18 to 19-year-olds. Similar to how Netflix streamed Chris Rock's comedy special live, something similar could be in the works for the two shows. Maybe I'm being naive and optimistic, but I do think the BET Awards, the main show, will kind of, all those categories of music, Afrobeat, hip-hops, R&B, trap drill, all of that stuff will kind of merge and be shown still, at least they'll be shown and there'll be clips available for streaming for those artists. So what does this mean for artists, culture, and the legacy of Black entertainment? It's not going to go away altogether, but it does hurt us. For Harvey and other artists, they will keep the music going, no matter if it's on a big stage or a sidewalk. I love it. While chasing the clouds away. Here we go. Tia Hewitt, Fox 30. So what say y'all, family? Are y'all sad that the BET Hip Hop Awards or Soul Train Awards have gone down, that they're being suspended? Do you think they'll come back? Do you think BET, let's put it this way, do you think we could ever get Black ownership again of the Soul Train library or BET in and of itself? I'll try and get it. Anybody got change from 5?
Yeah, viewership has declined. They even say the BET Awards, the 2025 BET Awards this year that came out, Kevin Hart hosted, had a crucial drop in viewership. This is according to rollingout.com. There was a decrease in viewership between 18 and 49-year-olds. That's their target audience by nearly 50%. I don't know if they mean BET Awards or BET Hip Hop. Well, the BET Awards are staying. So they're just suspending it indefinitely. So I don't know what that means, but I believe they were supposed to do like the Show Train Awards usually comes on in the fall. So that's obviously not going to happen. I believe the BET Hip Hop Awards used to come on uh, last time. Yeah, it was in October of last year. So they're all in the fall. So they're not showing it this year. That's essentially what those mean. And Fat Joe was upset. He spoke out against it. His goof had the nerve to say that the move is a form of racial gentrification that undermines black culture and entertainment. And you the poster boy for that shit. When Fat Joe was going out against the FBA. Yeah, exactly. That's the point, Cheryl. You haven't watched since 2013. You ain't missing nothing. What's the significance of these award shows? We're not getting anything out of it. But he criticized it, and he's talking about how Fat Joe, let's just listen again what he says. So he pointed to stark contrast between BET, BET's award show productions and those of its sister networks under the same corporate umbrella. He's talking about the 2024 MTV Music Video Awards when he performed alongside DJ Khaled, noting the significant production values and resources allocated to performers like Katy Perry. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. Of course. Of course. Black shows don't ever get the same treatment. I remember, I don't know if I could pull that video up, but Martin Lawrence, it was Martin Lawrence's biography on A&E Network, and Tashina Arnold was talking about how when Martin made its 100, and that Martin has been coming on fire by Ari Lennox and all these fools who don't have a sense of humor. I think they're just gaslighting everything. But Ari Lennox, but yeah, Martin, Tashina Arnold specifically stated how Martin had his TV show and they made 100 episodes. Fox Network didn't leave them nothing. They had a fruit basket. When Seinfeld made their 100 episodes, they marked 100 episodes. NBC had catering. They had a big cake. They had everything. The fixings all out for Seinfeld. Fox didn't do that for Martin. And Martin Lawrence, she said Martin went up to the Fox headquarters and obviously he complained loudly. And probably he was more vulgar with it. And they sent over a fruit basket. They sent more than just a fruit basket. They started to send over other little gifts and items to them. Thank you for 100 episodes. Thank you for this milestone and such and such. But Martin had to fight for that. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, they were complaining about Martin. Yeah, Ari Lennox is complaining about Martin. And Pam getting snapped on and so forth. People do realize when you watch the Martin reruns, Pam was giving it back at Martin just as well, although Martin got the better of him most of the time because Martin used to come in. He used to do comeback stuff. She would wreck on him, and then he would wreck on her. That's just how it was. And apparently, Tashina Arnold and Martin, are very close in real life. They actually planned and worked on that. So I don't see what the problem was with people getting bent out of shape and offended by what Martin was doing, the jokes that were played. That's always been the thing, especially with black culture, the dozens and so forth. Yeah, I wish she wouldn't have fixed her mouth to talk about this. Why is she even speaking on stuff? Why that's going viral? Yeah, I mean, you look at Fred G. Sanford and Aunt Esther. They used to rack on each other. George Jefferson and George and Florence on the Jeffersons. I mean, George Jefferson would go in on Helen and Tom. Fred Sanford used to go in on everybody, but especially on Esther. I mean, he had no problem dropping the N word. He had no problem calling his brother-in-law because Fred's sister was married to a white man. He called him hunky. George Jefferson used to do it too. He called, yeah, he would call Tom that. Yeah, Fred would call. Yeah, he called his brother-in-law Hunky McGee or something like that one time. But yeah, he would drop the N-word as well. He had no problem. Yeah, they had no chill back then. I don't know. I just think this generation going. I think people look for something to complain about. I also think the generation is going soft. Masculinity, especially in America, and the way things are looking, they're trying to make it go the way of the dodo bird. But anyway. All right, fam. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. But yeah, we had to talk about the Hip Hop Awards and Soul Train Awards. Why ownership is important, and I think that's the most important lesson you can get out of this. Own something, so that way you can control something and pass it down to your next generation. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's my time. Please, please, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you love me for my time, pay me for my time. Drop something to Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. And I will see you all in the next one. Make sure you subscribe to Random Topics on Rumble. Be one, be safe, and be blessed, ladies and gentlemen. I'll holla. Peace. Thank you, Cheryl the Pearl. I appreciate you. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform, by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content. Those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now, you guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.